Hello everyone. On the behalf of Career and Development Cell, we welcome you all for the Senior Junior Interaction Talk for the 2023 batch. Let's start with a beautiful quote. Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing or learning to do. We would like to thank retired Brigadier S.K. Kakkar sir, the Director of Career Development Cell of MATE, and Mr. Amit Gautam sir, Training and Placement Officer, for giving us this opportunity. Deloitte is a multinational professional services network with a broad range of services including audit and assurance, consulting, tax, and advisory services. Deloitte USI is a key part of Deloitte's global network and plays a significant role in providing various professional services to clients worldwide. Today, as the part of Deloitte journey, our hardworking college senior will tell us more about what it is like to work at Deloitte. I would like to welcome Ms. Rishika Sharma from the Computer Science Department of Batch 23, who is now working at Deloitte as a business technology analyst. It is a pleasure to have you here with us today, ma'am. Thank you so much. The best
Hi
way to
everyone.
predict, uh, yes, ma'am, you can
Okay.
continue.
Sorry for interrupting, Vaibhavi. You can continue.
It's okay, ma'am, you can continue. Over to you.
Hi everyone, and thank you, Vaibhavi, for the beautiful introduction. I hope you all are doing well. I'm Rishika Sharma. I'm working as a business technology analyst at Deloitte, USI, and I'm at the Gurgaon office right now. It's been a month since I've joined Deloitte, and I've recently completed my training process and have been deployed to a project as well. So I think the OA and Versant test rounds have been done. So let's hop to the interview experience directly. And last year we had 3 rounds, and I guess it's the same for you guys as well. So the first one is the HR round, the next is the technical round, and the third one is more of a managerial round, but you can have like technical questions as well. It is conducted by a senior manager at Deloitte. So starting with the first round, I'll like to go round by round because they have their own specifications and as such. So the first, let's talk about the HR round. Now this round is basically they want to check if you as a person are a fit for the firm or not. It will not test your technical capabilities. Obviously, they just want to check your personality, how your attitude is towards certain things, and how your experience has been so far. I would say, from my experience, it was more of a candid conversation in which the interviewer wants to know more about you as a person apart from your resume part. Okay. Firstly, I would like to ask all of you to have an introductory pitch about yourself prepared. Now, what do I mean by an introductory pitch? It is a short introduction about yourself in which it should not be too long. It should be like a minute or two, and you should cover all aspects of your life in that. What's your name? Where are you from? What, like, obviously they know you're studying at Mate, so just like crisply just tell what branch are you in and all that. And then briefly just talk about what projects have you worked on, do you have any experiences, and lastly just don't keep it completely academic or curriculum related. As a person you have to have some hobbies. If you don't have some hobbies, just say that you like binge watching movies or whatever. Just tell them about yourself as a person. Okay. And this pitch should, again, like as I said, it should not be boring or too long. And I would say that you should be this is the first impression that you're creating on the interviewer, the first interview. So it should be something which is authentic and completely creative, in which like they get interested. I want to know more about this person. I want to ask this person about this aspect from their resume or from their introductory pitch. this introductory pitch, like either they ask you to introduce yourself, or it can be twisted as a question like, tell me something that is not mentioned in your resume. So you can answer that accordingly. And again, this is like such this is a creative question, like tell me something what is not in your resume. So you don't want to be sitting there thinking for 40 seconds like, okay, what should I say? So this is something that I would highly recommend to prepare in advance. And I completely understand if some of you are introverts, or some of you may lack you may lack confidence. You might feel that you're not confident enough talking to someone or during an interview. So the best thing you can do for that is just prepare it, write it, just read it a few times, and then you'll memorize it, and just talk to yourself in the mirror. Just say that introductory pitch to yourself in the mirror. So this is a like slightly apart from the interview part. This is a tip I would like to share. So okay, one of the questions that as I said, the HR round was more of a candid conversation. So they asked me, like, they can ask you, how did you prepare for this interview? Matlab, what was your preparation process like? So you can share your preparation, like, how did you prepare? They want to know that how interested you were, what all steps did you put in from your end to be like sitting for the interview, right? And for my part, I was my resume was based on development, web development basically, and it had some portions of data structures as well. So since this was the HR round, they asked me like, why did you choose the language that you use now? Why are you using Java, not C or C++? Like people usually start with C or C++. So I told them what was my take on choosing the particular language that I use. Then you can also be asked about how do you see yourself in the next 5 years of your life, the next 2 years? What are your expectations from the company, from the firm? So from this opportunity, what are you expecting? Like they want to know how much have you done your research, what do you think you will be expecting from this role is something that they can also ask. And one of the most famous questions that I've heard from my friends as well is that, why Deloitte? Why did you choose to apply for this opportunity? Why did you choose to apply at Deloitte? So I would recommend you should not be going completely blank about the firm to the interview, about any company for that matter. You should do your research at your end, like what is this firm exactly doing in the market? What are their contributions? So, like a brief that Deloitte works for as a web, we told that it has multiple branches: audit, tax, consulting, and certain areas as well. So all of us will be like, this campus drive is for Deloitte Tax USI. So you should be knowing these basic things. And now one of the questions that could be asked is like, I think your resume is one of the most important aspects in um, determining in which direction your interview will go. So if your resume has like a lot of projects that are based on machine learning, then it would be completely like they would want to know, why did you do this? How did you do this? Why did you choose to work on this project when there are so many domains available in the market? Why did you go for machine learning, not web development? Okay, so if you have done 3 4 different tech stacks, then they would it is a possibility they would ask like, why did you choose to not stick to this particular thing? You understand, like these different things. And so since this is an HR round, there could be behavioral questions as well, like you can they can ask you about an instance where you showcased your leadership skills, an instance where you worked in a team. What did you learn from working in a team? And how would you resolve a conflict? So these are the basic behavioral questions that can be asked. And again, as I said, like, what made you apply? Why did you choose this firm? And this is not a like a question answer round, I would say. It's just a candid conversation. And again, by candid, I would not suggest you to be completely informal. It's very important to be to have a formal and professional behavior while being in an interview. That goes without saying, obviously. So again, now concluding with the HR round, this is, I think, I can think of these questions only. Like, there's no end to the possibility of questions you can be asked. But these are some of the examples that I said. You can prepare accordingly, and you can also search online what questions are asked in the HR rounds for Deloitte USI, Deloitte, and how can you prepare from them. So some of the most generic questions that I told you guys about that. So it will again check that if your values, if your thinking process aligns with the firm or not, if you will be a perfect fit or not. So that's about the HR round. Next is the technical round. So the technical round, it's not a given rule that your technical round will be completely DSA based. It will be completely web dev. It will be completely like some particular tech stack. No, I don't think it's not a hard and fast rule that they'll give you a certain set of DSA questions to solve and okay, just do that, and it's not like that. um, from my experience, what I believe is, in this particular part, the questions or your technical interview will be completely based on your resume. Now, what do I mean by completely based on your resume? It is in your hands for any interview. I would share this. It is in your hands to drive the interview where you want. It is completely up to you where you want to direct the interview, right? So, in the tech interview as well, you'll be asked to introduce yourself. So, make your introduction more tech specific. If I'm confident about my development skills, if I'm confident about a particular tech stack, I would make sure that I put more emphasis on my development experience, on my projects that I worked on, and I would make sure that I tell them some facts which will keep them interested, which will make them more inclined towards knowing that okay, this person has, for example, worked on a project based on React. So how did they implement this functionality? How did they do this? Right? And again, if you are very very confident about your programming skills, about your problem solving skills, you can share in your introduction like okay, I have I like, if you're a competitive programmer or whatever, you can just share that I have this particular skill set, I have done these many questions, or I'm very actively participating in contests and so on. So what did I mean by all of this is that it is completely in your hands to drive your interview wherever you want. Okay. So again, this was the introduction part. It's in your hands, right? So it should be short, it should not be very long, and you should tell about your projects that you have worked on. If you have some industry experience, if you have done any internships or you have any prior experience, you should tell them that okay, I worked here for this much amount of time and I worked on this particular tech stack, so on. So technical part should mostly have like, you should tell about yourself, your journey as in this particular field, right? And now for if I talk about my interview experience, so as I said, my resume is heavily based on development part. So I did participate in the Smart India hackathon, which was held last year, and we did go to the finale. So I thought that it was a good point to talk about in my introduction. It was mentioned in my resume as well, and it caught their eye. So they were more interested in knowing, like, okay, what was the problem statement you worked on? How did you guys come up with the solution? What was your contribution to the team? And how would you summarize your entire journey of the hackathon, and what did you learn from it? Did you display any leadership skills? What were the challenging parts of being at a hackathon, of building something in a span of 2 days or 3 days? So these questions, again, they were based on completely on what I had mentioned in my resume and in my introduction. Then they jumped to the computer fundamental subjects that we have: OOPS, computer networks, and DBMS, SQL, and what are OS. So for that, like in SQL, they can ask you to write certain queries. They can give you an instance, an example, and you will be asked to write the queries. Joins is an important topic which you should prepare nicely. Then stored procedures, triggers, like all of these important topics you guys would know. So these are some things that you should prepare. And in computer networks and OS, so from my experience, these were all the topics that they touched. So what did I do? Like I was preparing for all of these computer fundamental subjects for the placement season. So I completed these playlists from your Gate Smashers only. It is one of the best playlists that you have out there. So I would recommend, if you have time, like your interview is on 19th. So if some of you, if you want to revise the concepts, if you have not touched this, then if you don't have the time for the playlist, then there is this sheet by Aman Dhattarwal, and it is a very crisp sheet, and it is such that if you read it once, then you would be clear with the concepts. So if some of you, if you do not have that much time to prepare, then you can just refer to that. But it's just a shortcut, so I would not recommend like directly hopping to it, but just a like tip. And apart from that, the preparation, syllabus based preparation, whatever you guys are learning in your college curriculum, it is more than enough. And if you guys refer to the Gate Smashers playlist, the topics there are enough. That is what is actually required for the interviews. And apart from that, you can refer to GFG and interview bit. And yeah, interview bit and GFG worked from me. They both are very good sources while you're preparing for interviews. And before the interview, like 1 or 2 days before, or like just on the day of interview, when you're like, you don't have the time to entirely go through the material which you have, you don't have the time to go through your notes. We all go through that, okay? We don't have the time. So what is a good practice is that just search top 10, top 50, top 100 questions asked on OS, CN, oops, whatever. And you'll get all these questionnaires on GFG, interview bits, Guru 99. These are very very good resources which you can refer to just a few days before your interview. And you will understand after the interview that okay, this thing really works, because it's like in a question answer format. So if you don't know anything, you can study from there. If you want to revise, you can revise from there, and it's very quick. So that is something that is very helpful, these 2 or 3 resources that I mentioned. And then again, for okay, now most of you might have this confusion that will the interview will be DSA based or not, or will it like completely be technical or what. So as I told you, you can drive it yourself. But coming to the DSA part, if some of you do have some experience, like if some of you have, for example, if you have worked as a teaching assistant in some of, like if you worked as a TA, then it shows that you have some good experience with problem solving and data structures and algorithms. Then there is a possibility that they would ask you a question. One of my friends was one of my friends was asked about DSA because he insisted that he was confident in DSA. So they asked him a simple question. It was based on hash maps, as far as I remember. So you can expect the difficulty level to be easy to medium, I would say, and it would be not completely DSA based. That is something I can say. But if you're really confident, then you should definitely talk about it, and you should say that this is a skill that I have, and it is a brownie point, I would say. So yeah, these are the technical things that can be asked or what were asked from me. Now, one more thing, your resumes, they like would have given you a particular format in which you have to submit your resume, and they're already submitted. So, apart from all this technical material that I told you, these resources, your resume is your most friendly preparation resource that you can have for any interview, for that matter. Now, why do I say this? First of all, your resume talks about what you have done so far, what you have actually done. It has proofs, it has links to the things you have developed, it has your certification, it has everything. So, firstly, I would say that do not lie on your resume. If you are doing that, then you would not have a proper explanation for whatever they would ask based on your resume. Now, resume is a very important resource for studying for an interview. So go through each and every word that you have mentioned on your resume. If you have worked on a particular, if you have mentioned the tech stacks that you have worked on, then if you have a project, I'm talking about a very simple, let's say, if you have used JavaScript in your project, then they can ask you that, okay, if I have to if I have an like I have a situation where I have to click a button, I have to display an alert message. So how would you implement that? You have used JavaScript, so how would you do that if I had to implement this particular functionality in my project? So you understand what I mean by this. If you have used a particular tech stack, then they can ask you more about it. If you have in your resume, in the projects that you have mentioned, if you have mentioned the functionalities that you have provided in your particular application or project or whatever, so they'll ask you more about your project. Okay, why did you go with this particular tech stack? Why this, not that? And how did you think of these solutions and everything? Like, it will be based on your resume, because what they know about you is completely the fact that comes from your introduction and from your resume. So that is that. And of course they have their requirements, like, okay, this candidate should at least have some particular knowledge about these subjects and all. So that would be completed from the portion that I told you guys just now, like from computer networks, database, and SQL, OS, like all the computer fundamentals, right? So yeah, and I think if any one of you has used JavaScript, if you have experience with React, JavaScript, whatever, TypeScript, so you should prepare separately for that also, because JavaScript and TypeScript again are portions that they can ask you questions. Like, they're important parts for development, so it's important that you prepare for that as well. And SQL, you can get, they can ask you theoretical things, they can ask you situation based things, like, okay, if I have to create this particular table, or fetch some data from here, populate the table, how would you do that, and so on. They can ask you to write queries as well. And yeah, and from, as I talked to, like, if you have some particular experience of working somewhere, if you have internship experience, if you have some hackathon experience, if you have built some team projects, then they can ask you, what did you learn from this? What was your complete, like, what was your entire experience like, and what were the positives and negatives from that, the key takeaways that you have from a project. And questions like, if you had to do this again, what would you do differently? And so, like, general questions about you and your projects. And one of the questions that can be asked is like, how you as an individual would contribute to this firm. How would you, how, why do you feel that you are a perfect fit for this particular firm? Now these are general interview questions which are asked in behavioral rounds and so on. So once the technical round is like, at the end of the technical round as well, I was asked some behavioral questions because of my experience, because I had worked in a team, so they did ask me how was your experience, and how did you resolve any conflicts, how did you act when there were uncomfortable moments where you had some different point of view, the other one had some other point of view, and so on. And one question that I feel that most of us won't be able to answer if we are asked directly face to face. Like if I ask any one of you, like, why are you inclined towards technology, and you have to come up with the answer like quickly. So these are some things that you should think about before sitting for the interview. Like just prepare a rough draft in your mind. If I'm asked this, like, why am I inclined towards technology, you can have your answers, you can have your interests and your passions and whatever, and you can talk about that if they ask you a question like that. So coming to the last round, it was conducted by a senior manager at Deloitte, and I would say it was not completely technical, neither completely behavioral for me. It was a mix of both. So since I had some web development projects on my resume, so they asked me heavily. It was a discussion about the projects that I did, how I implemented certain things, how I implemented certain features using the languages that I like, using the tech stack that I had mentioned. So it was heavily based on that. And some of the questions, like it was a very situational based round, that if you have to implement this thing, how would you do that? If you had to change or tweak this particular feature, how would you do that? So it was technical and it was situation based. And yeah. And now behavioral questions in this were that, if you had, like, while building the projects that you have built, what was the most weakest moment that you went through? How did you resolve something that you thought that you could not do? So things like that, like what was the strongest point that you felt, how did you contribute it to your project? If you have worked in a team, then this is a possibility that they can ask you more about your contributions and conflict resolution among team members and so on. So for the technical part, I was like, there was this question that was like, if I enter a particular URL on the web browser, then what happens exactly, what happens step by step? Just tell what happens if I enter a URL. How is the web page rendered? What is the complete process for that? So things related to that. And again, then computer networks or oops concepts were heavily involved, since I had in my resume I've mentioned that I've worked with Java. So I was asked oops concepts in Java, and not, I would not say that they ask you to write the code, but you should be aware with the practical implementations of oops concepts and all of the functionalities that oops have, like polymorphism, abstraction, inheritance, everything. So you should be aware with the coding part of that as well, if you have worked with and done some, if you have used languages like Java, C++, whatever. So object oriented languages do give you the possibility of being asked oops concepts, but again, they are, in general, they are important. And coming to computer networks, HTTP protocol, TCP connections, and all of the important things like curriculum based things that you have studied, they are more than enough. And If you want to refer, you can refer to any playlist on YouTube. Again, I would recommend Gate Smashers for the same. And written materials, you can refer GFG or interview bits, as I said, and so on. And one thing, uh, if you have mentioned any project or experience that you have, you should know your project inside out. Trust me on this, you should be aware of your project completely, because you should not give the impression that I just have this project on this resume, but I don't know it like I have developed it. You should be able to, show that yes, I myself have developed this project. I know how it works, I know the functionalities. So since mine was a web application, then they did ask me to share my screen, share my project. And I explained the project, like how does it work, the complete UI. I went through it, how what functionality works, how. And while discussing it, they'll ask you like, okay, how did you implement this feature? If I had to do that, how would I do that? What are your suggestions, and so on. So as I said, it is more of a candid, it was more of a discussion about my projects and rest of the technical questions that followed. So it was based on my resume completely. And one of the things I would like to add in this part is, when it comes to technical questions, it is not possible to know the answer to each and every question that you are thrown. You cannot know the answer, and it is absolutely okay, because at the other end also they know that you are a college fresher, you're still in your final year, and you might not have certain experience. And some of you, if you do not have any internship experience or anything, please don't be worried about that. I myself did not have any previous experience, this is my first job. So neither did I had any internship experience before this. So please don't be worried about that this is a negative point or is it a very big deal. No, if you have a good amount of skills to show from your resume, if you have um, good projects that you have developed, then it is not a big deal. You should be able to justify your skills. You should be able to justify why you are a technically fit person for this particular role, and so on. So now coming to the thing where you cannot know everything, instead of wasting like a lot of time, like it's okay to think, you can take your time, think the answer and tell your approach whenever you're asked a technical question. but if you do not know anything, please don't lie. You can just simply say that I'm sorry, but I'm unaware of this. And it is a very normal thing to do that. So, but you should also have a like, I would like to know attitude. You should not like, it should not come out like you don't know and you don't even want to know, you're not interested. No, just say I'm sorry, I'm unaware of this particular concept, and I'll study it, and I'll study about it, and I'll read certain things about that, whatever, if situation like this occurs. So I think the three rounds I have covered completely. um, Most of the questions that I was asked, I have discussed with you guys. And let's talk about some of the general things about interviews that I think, if I had known better, it would have been better for me at that time. So, some of these things which you guys can implement for your interview preparation or your placement journey. So, the first thing I mentioned when I started speaking was having an introductory pitch. Please realize the importance of why I'm emphasizing on this again and again, because it does happen that some of us feel that I know myself, I can talk about what I've done, I know how to introduce myself. I'll just say, I'm this, I'm from this, I have studied this, and these are my projects. Trust me, when you're sitting in an interview, it does not come out like that. You have to prepare it. And I'm not scaring anyone that it's a very big deal, but just know that when you have to sit in front of an interviewer, you will feel nervous. It's a very, very, very normal thing to feel nervous. It is also normal to feel that you are not good at communicating with others. It is okay to be an introvert. So to avoid any mistakes, just to avoid last minute, you don't want to be sitting in front of the interviewer completely blank when they ask you, tell me something about yourself. You don't want to take those awkward pauses in your introduction, at least. No, so just prepare an introductory pitch, as I mentioned before. Just cover all of the aspects. Now, don't be a bookworm, don't just have only academic aspects. It's okay if you like mention a certain hobby or two. It's always a good thing to mention those things, and it does bring your authenticity out in the interview. So there might be a thing that both you and your interviewer have in common. So that would be a point where you could have a really candid conversation about it, and you yourself will feel comfortable sitting in the interview for the next duration. Okay, so yeah, about the duration. My HR round was for 30 minutes or so. Then the technical round went on for 40-45 minutes, and the managerial round was also for 40-45 minutes. And it's not like obviously the HR round didn't have any technical aspects to it, so it was shorter than both of the technical rounds. And yeah, so the second thing is now your resumes have already been submitted on the portal, I think, but still for other drives that you will probably sit for, please make sure that your resume is error free. Now, most of us, well, while we are making our resumes or editing our resumes, we are very confident that okay, I've seen this document 10 times, please for God's sake, I don't think there are any errors. Please go through it again, because I did this mistake myself. So I had a certain 20, like there was a very teeny tiny mistake that I mentioned in my resume, and I had submitted it. So in the HR interview, they asked me that okay, you will be graduating in 2023, so why does it say 2022? And I did get confused about it, because there was some discrepancy that I was going through. I was not sure whether I should write 2022 or 23, something like that. So they asked me about it, that do you think your resume is error free? And I was like, yes, I think. But it was not. So it is not something that you should be scared of. Okay, now what will happen? No, just say that okay, I did not realize that I had made this mistake, and I will correct it. Okay, so whenever there are negative aspects in an interview, when you don't know that, when you don't know the answer, when you know you have made a mistake, then always end that thing on a positive note. Positive note, as in, I'm sorry, I did not realize we had to do it in a certain way, but I will rectify this, I will correct this. I'm sorry, I do not know the answer to this question, but I'll study more about it. So that's all about it. And the next thing, I've already said that you should know your resume, you should know your projects inside out. You should be completely aware of what you have written on your resume, because it is a document that will tell them about you. That is their source of asking something from you, from where they can get to know you more. So you should be completely aware what you have written in your resume, what projects you have done, how you have done, and how you will answer questions if you're asked on some particular features, functionalities of your projects, and so on. And I myself do not have any experience in machine learning or Python, but few of my friends did have it. They had some projects on machine learning, Python, and things like that on their resume. So they were asked about Python and different libraries that they had used, or they had not used. So if you guys are thinking about it, if it like if you have any experience in machine learning, then that also you should study in depth. Like they can ask you about the language, they can ask you about the libraries, and so on. So the next thing let's talk about is communication skills. Now, this particular firm, I would say, you should, in general, you should have good communication skills. Now, every time we just get confused by good communication skills to be something like have a very heavy vocabulary, just know words that no one else knows. No, please, no. What good communication skills means is that whatever you are thinking here, you're able to articulate those thoughts in a very structured manner. You're not blabbering your answers. That is what good communication skills is. It does not matter if you are very good with English. It does not matter if you are like, it does not matter if you do not know very heavy words, or you do not have a very heavy vocabulary. No, none of these things matter as far as you are able to communicate your thoughts very, very effectively. Whatever answer that you have in your mind, whatever things you're that thinking, you should be able to put them out in such a way that the other person is able to completely understand what you're trying to deliver, what you're trying to say. So just know, from this point, I would like to also touch on something. Whenever you are asked a question in any interview, just take a moment of momentarily, like just pause, just take a break, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and think about what you will speak. Just don't, it should not be like you're interrupting the interviewer in between, like, okay, I know the answer, I can just say that. No, please let them complete their question, what they're asking. First of all, understand what they're asking. So many times we perceive things in a very wrong way, that okay, they're asking, maybe they're asking this, maybe they're asking. No, if you have this maybe situation going on, just elaborate that, like, sir, is this the thing that you're talking about? Is this the thing that I should say? Like, just confirm, and structure your answer in your brain firstly, and then start speaking. Again, it would save you from all the blabbering, all the confusion, all the awkward and embarrassing pauses that you can have in an interview while giving an answer. So just have a structure in your mind, like, okay, for example, if I'm given a particular DSA question, since I was not asked DSA in this particular interview, but just for an instance, I'm telling you guys. So if you're given a particular question, then discuss all the test cases with your interviewer, discuss all the situations, all the scenarios, and form a particular format in your mind. Again, not even DSA, even if it's a theoretical question, even if they're asking you to implement something using JavaScript, if they're asking you to write a stored procedure in SQL, just just don't start typing, just don't start saying your answer. Think, pause, think, and then start speaking. And it is a way in which you'll be able to effectively articulate what you are thinking. And nextly, it is also like the interviewers will definitely make sure that you feel comfortable and you're not nervous at all. You yourself should be confident while sitting for the interview, but they'll also make sure that you are feeling confident, you're not nervous. But it is also in your hands to not make the interview as a question answer round. It is definitely not a question answer round. It is always like you are discussing something with the interviewer. So interviews, please don't make it like a question answer round, just have candid conversations. Now, by candid, I do not by any means mean that be unprofessional. Please, no, not at all. Be formal, be professional, but do not make it a question answer round. So, yeah, these are some of the general things that I have in my mind. And Some of the do's and don'ts, some of the common do's and don'ts that I feel everyone should know. So don't lie about something that you don't know. If you're asked a question, don't lie about something that you do not know. Just simply say, sorry, I'll just read about it. You know, all of that I talked about before. Don't be late for the meeting or the call, whatever you have. Do not be late. Join 2 or 4 minutes early, because no matter how confident you are that, okay, no, nothing will go wrong, my microphone is working fine, my laptop is completely charged, the internet connection is stable, it never can completely be fine. There are instances when your just connection just decides that it will not work today. Just have your mobile by your side, use your hotspot, like be prepared for all these things, and join the call 2 to 4 minutes early if you can, so that you just avoid last minute things that can go wrong. And don't have a boring or very long introduction. We keep it crisp, keep it simple, right? And keep it creative and authentic to yourself. And it should not be something that you've copied from the internet, like top 5 introductions for interviews. No, please keep it creative, keep it authentic, and keep it short, not too long. 1 or 2 minutes is fine. And you should not be rude, you should be professional. That's a very general thing that you can do. And in behavioral rounds, like in the HR round or in the technical behavioral round, there is no right or wrong answer when they ask you a situational question. There is definitely no right or wrong answer. They just want to see your perspective, they want to see how your personality is. So whatever answers you're giving, make sure they're not negative. Make sure they're not at all negative. You should always have a positive approach to whatever answer you are giving, and you should not put out like you are someone whose thought process is very negative, you are a pessimist. No, just have a positive approach to whatever answer you're giving. Definitely they'll not say that, okay, this is a wrong answer, this is a very optimistic answer. No, but it is a good thing to have a positive approach to whatever answer you're giving. Okay. And I think I've talked about most of the things that I had to. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. Karthik says, as a BTA, what kind of technology do you get to work on at Deloitte? So, Karthik, there are different business lines that you could be assigned. Like there are different business lines, as in TTC, TTO. There are different projects that these people work on. Now, these projects can be client based or they can be internal projects. So, you can get to work on Angular, .NET, TypeScript, and SQL, Power BI, and some of the tools that this firm particularly uses. So, yeah, these are the technologies that you can get to work on. All right. Anyone else, if you guys have any questions? So, one of the doubts that I myself had while sitting for this drive last year was that whether it is technical or a non technical role. So, it is completely technical. You'll not be asked to do things that you have not studied. And don't feel that you do not know certain things, that then it is a negative point. You'll go through a training process. They'll teach you everything from scratch. So, don't, be afraid of that. So Shreya is asking, are the interviews conducted one day after the other, or how does it go? For as far as I remember, the three of my interviews were conducted in one day itself. The results came after like there were gaps of 2 to 3 hours. So it started in the morning, and for me, I was done by the evening. And all of these are like if you're done with the first interview, then you are eligible for the second. If you're done with the second, then you're eligible for the third. So for us, it got wrapped up within the same day itself. But there are things that can happen. It is a possibility that interviews can get stretched 2 days because of the availability of certain interviewers, or other they can have other things to work on. So for us it was a day, but it can be stretched as well. Interviewer can ask us to share the screen. No. They they had to they asked me to share my screen when they had to see the project. Yeah, right, for project, definitely. If you have worked on some web application, then they can ask you like, okay, can you show us the web application? But from my end, I myself initiated that conversation, that this is this I've worked on, I have these functionalities, this is the UI, how it looks like. So they asked me, okay, can you show it? Do you have it with you right now? I said yes, and then you can share your screen and show your project. Okay, so any one of you, any specific tech stack to prepare? uh, the things that you have worked on in your resume, whatever you have mentioned, be prepared with them. If you have my resume, as I talked about it before, also, it was based on web development. So the things that I had mentioned, the things that I had used, React JS, Redux, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, whatever. So I had mentioned that, and you need to be prepared with that, because they will. There is a chance that they will ask you questions about that. It is a very high possibility. So be prepared with these things. And JavaScript again is important. So you should know the functions and certain features that you can implement using JavaScript. But it would not be like if you have never worked on Angular, they will just drop your question on Angular. No, they will ask you the things that you have worked upon, that you have mentioned in your resume. So please feel free to ask any questions you have, and later after the session also, you can ping me on LinkedIn whenever you want. I'll be more than happy to help. So like, I'll just put the link in the chat if anyone wants to refer. What were the work locations you were offered? So it was not like I think while filling the form they did ask us about our preference. So we had filled Gurgaon, but it completely depends on the business requirements of the firm where they have the capacity. But it is a high possibility that you will be assigned to a location that is commutable, most probably. But that this is something that I can also not tell. This is something that will be clear once you are given the offer letter after all the procedure. But yes, they during the HR interview and the last interview, they did ask me about my preference, that where do you reside and what are your preferred locations, where would you like to work from. So yeah, during that I did mention that I prefer Gurgaon. So yeah. um, but there are various locations where Deloitte USI currently is: Hyderabad, Pune, Kolkata, Gurgaon, Chennai, Bangalore. So yeah.
I guess there are no more doubts. So I appreciate your wise and valuable time, ma'am. It was a pleasure to hear about your experiences.
Thank you, Webby. Okay, there's this question: should I focus more on fundamentals or my projects or technologies? Faisal, you should focus on both, because both of these things are completely important, and your technical interviews will be based on these two aspects only: your technical knowledge, that is your fundamental subjects in computer science, and the projects that you've worked on. So you should focus on both. After how many months were you asked to join? So our interview process was during this time only. I gave my interview in September or October, and I got my offer during after a month or so, and our joining date was 28th August of this year. So I joined after a year or so. So it would be after your all your, like, your final year exams when they end. It Your joining date will be after that only. So you can expect it to be after July or during August or something like that. But it is, again, it completely depends on your what your offer letter says. So yeah. Were the interviews held virtually or in person? No, the interviews were completely virtual for us, and I think for you guys also, you will be asked to join virtually. It would be conducted on Zoom. So I think, Webavi, we're done with all the questions.
Okay, ma'am, you are a package of knowledge, I must say.
Thank you, Webavi.
Thank you so much for giving such a brief information about the campus recruitment of Deloitte.
Thank you so much for having me. And all the best, you guys. Please be confident and please be patient. I know this time is difficult for us all, but you should be patient with all the procedure that you go through, and have faith you'll get through it. All the very best, and please ask me anything you want on LinkedIn. I'll be available.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking the time to share your wisdom and thoughts. We were very delighted to have you here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so